This is either gonna work out really well or be a complete disaster. This is me after I have finished this sweater. I just wanted to say that if you are watching this, I did start this sweater back in October. I think it was the very beginning of October, so it did take me a while, and that's okay. I know that there's lots of videos out there, especially here on YouTube, of people making sweaters within like a week or a day or whatever it is, and that's totally fine too. But for me, this is just how long it took me, just with other things going on and trying to work on it as much as I possibly could within the last 2 months, I guess. So I just wanted to be realistic about that and say that like right from the jump. And just because it took me this long to make my first sweater doesn't mean that it'll take you that long. It turns out great. I promise. I only did like 4 rows and I had to unravel all of them. I couldn't even hook this into some of the holes at some points. I don't know what was going on. This is where I started, and then this is where I'm at. I don't know if you can see that, but it just looked like it was getting smaller, and it still looks like that. But yesterday it was significantly looking a lot smaller than here. I had to unravel these rows. I think I got the hang of it after a couple tries, and we're back on track. I don't know how many rows I've got, but nowhere close to 90. So I think the last time I sat down and made any updates, I was working towards making 90 rows, and this part is what's going to be the cinching at the waist. And yes, it is very not good. When I was crocheting, I was going up like this, obviously, to make the 90 rows, and then I had to turn it and do a single stitch, a single crochet into each of the rows. I think I have more than 90 stitches, which would mean that I have more than 90 rows, but I counted every single row that I made. I don't know what happened. Honestly, I probably made a mistake, or probably put too many stitches in somewhere, which is fine. I'm not gonna redo it. I'm going to have to continue the stitches going up. This would be either the front panel of the sweater or the back panel of the sweater, and then I would have to do a second one of these. I would say that I'm more confident now than when I was when I first started, because I actually finished this a lot sooner than I thought I would. This wasn't too bad. It doesn't look too great, but it wasn't too bad to make. What I am worried about is where the armholes are gonna go, where the neck hole is gonna go, and how exactly I'm going to put the R in. I've watched different videos saying that I could follow a pattern, draw the pattern that I want on a graph sheet, and then somehow calculate that with the amount of stitches I need to make in each. I don't know. It sounded so complicated. I need to keep switching yarns. I need to count stitches, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if I just did the whole sweater in maroon and then went back with the yellow yarn and did the R, that sounds a lot easier to me, and I think I really want to take that route. I need to figure that out ASAP. So last night I was in full panic mode, I guess you could say, and I wanted to start over, and I really was going to start all over again, but I was like, I'm just gonna sleep on this and see how I feel about it in the morning. But basically, this is what I have. This is what I've been working on. I was just worried about how the sweater was going to look in the end. Honestly, I wasn't really sure how I felt about the cinching at the waist. Basically, I just want a sweater that's oversized and that isn't restricting at the waist or anywhere else. And I feel like with this, it might be, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So these 90 rows are, I guess, equivalent to a men's medium. It looks so small. And I was basically like, well, I have a couple options. One, I could just keep going. Two, I could add more rows going up, and the goal would be to make it like a large or potentially an extra large men's sweater then, I don't know, possibly just a large men's sweater. And then my third option was just to start over without any ribbing and just like go for it. I got a couple other sweaters out actually. They're both men's large, I think. This one is now my sister's, but I used to wear it all the time and I really liked the fit. And then this one, I really like the fit of this one as well. So I was like, okay, I have two large sweaters that I can use to like see if I like the direction that I'm going in with the ribbing at the bottom, because they both have ribbing. So I think I like the style of this one better than the other one. I mean, they're the same size, they're both men's large. I think this one just has a little bit more wear to it. It's just been worn a lot more than the other one. I'm not sure if I can follow this size exactly, but I would like to. And so I think the easiest way might be to literally just put this ribbing up against the ribbing of this sweater and go from there, honestly. I think that's what I've decided to do, and I'm glad that I'm not starting over. Also, I decided that I think I'm going to put the R in the sweater as I am making it, because I figured that it would just probably look smoother, one, and two, in the end, in the grand scheme of things, I think it would be more difficult to go back and stitch the R into the already made sweater than it would be to just incorporate it into the design. This is what I'm going to potentially follow, where like the lighter gray is. I'm pretty sure that would be where the maroon is, and then obviously in the darker gray, the R is where the yellow yarn would go, and so I have to figure out how to do that. I think overall the crisis is averted. I'm not going to start over. I have a plan. I figured out what I'm going to do with the letter R. Hopefully we're smooth sailing from here. I hope. We have to discuss what I've done because I've made a terrible mistake. I really don't know if it's supposed to be like this. My gut tells me no, but one thing that I can very clearly see, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's the same thing on the other side. This side is worse, but this side also has it. Also these giant holes, which I know that I will have some holes, but I think these are just like ginormous. I really did not know what I was doing wrong for a long time. Obviously you can tell just by looking at this that there is something wrong. This is a double crochet, and so I went back and just watched the videos that I watched in the beginning of when I was learning how to double crochet, and yeah, I'm very clearly doing something wrong. I didn't know what I was doing wrong before, but now I know exactly what I'm doing wrong, and I'm gonna have to take her apart. If you're knitting too or crocheting too, and your project looks like this, it's not supposed to. What a sad day. I'm ready to start over. Look at all my yarn on the floor. This is so sad. So, where we last left off, I did have to start over. When you double crochet, you chain 3 and turn. I was under the impression that you chain 3 and go into the 4th stitch every single row, but that's not the case, and that's how I got a really messed up sweater with so many holes on the end, and there's no big gaping holes here like there was in my first go at this. There are like some holes, but they're really like tiny. This is the biggest hole that I have. So that's what I did. That's how I found out that I was doing this wrong. I had to start over, but I've actually done a lot. This thing is going to be ginormous though. And this is just the front, by the way. Also, it does get a little bit bigger on the sides. Like, it's not really a straight line, and I just think that's because I loosened my grip. That's what I'm up to, and now I have to start the R because it's almost halfway up, maybe a little bit more than halfway. I figured out how to use 2 colors, so use the yellow for the R and then keep the maroon. So I figured out how to do that, how to add in a different color, and I have a graph. What I think is going to be most difficult is trying to incorporate that graph, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it's going to exactly match up to this sweater with all the stitches that I've made, with the stitches that I already have, I assume that I just evenly try to do some on this side and some on this side. Yeah, I think the first step is to probably count how many stitches I have. I've counted it a couple times and honestly it kind of changes every time I count. So 94. That's actually pretty good because I did 94 of these. The ribbing, did I do 94? I'm pretty sure I did 94. So I'm probably gonna have to do some math. Oh geez. I also have a bit of fear that this will turn out small. Yeah, I don't know how much I trust my own calculations, but I think I have to do 40 stitches in with the maroon, and then I can start my graph. But I think in total I might have one more stitch. I have 94, and I think because of this I'm going to have 95. The only way that this can be even is if I do 14 rows instead of 15. If I do one less row, it'll all equal 94, but it might be a little bit uneven. I think I could also just shift everything one to the left, and I think that might make it more even. So if it's not too confusing, I might attempt that. Okay, we got yellow. This is either gonna work out really well or be a complete disaster. Okay, I've adjusted my graph. This is what it looks like. It's a disaster, but I think I have an idea of what to do. So I'm just gonna keep going. Hopefully it's not too small. If it is, that's a problem for future me. Okay, I just did yellow and now I'm gonna go back to maroon. I think when you switch back to the maroon, I'm just going to drop this and pick up the maroon. Already messed up on my third stitch. Okay, I am about to start on my third roll. I think this is my third roll, yes. I just did like a magic knot to tie the two ends together. I've made a lot of progress already, but I am just trying to finish the R by tonight. That is my goal. This is what I've done so far. Oh my god. It looks so deformed and out of shape. It started off so well too. Last night I finished this R. When I finished it, I did not like it at all. I just thought it was really wonky and not cute, or not the way that I wanted it to look. But the more that I look at it, the more that I like it. So I think we're just gonna roll with this. I was going to shape the shoulders, but I think I'm not gonna do that because if I do the shoulders, I think it might be like here, and even if you look at his is higher up on his chest. So yeah, I just think that not shaping the neckline, it'll give me more control over where exactly the R will go. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do for the neck yet, but I did start on the back panel. I'm gonna do 94 rows again, even though it is quite big. I'm just gonna roll with it. So I'm gonna do 94 rows and then start double crocheting upwards like I did with that one. And I'm on row 15 right now, but it's going pretty fast. I am done with this. It actually looks a lot bigger than I thought. I know that the sweater is going to be pretty big, but I didn't want to make the back panel smaller than the front panel. I wanted to have an even 94 rows of ribbing for both of them, no matter how big it is. I don't have a problem with it being big and oversized, but I just didn't want it to be long. I kind of cut it off when I thought that it would be an okay length. I mean, I think this will be pretty like high up, right? And so realistically, I think it'll reach like, it's, yeah, touching the top of my thigh, which I'm fine with. So yeah, that was my plan. Just kind of keep it short because I know that it's going to be big and oversized already. So I did 94 of these. Also, it looks 100 times better. This ribbing looks so freaking good compared to what the ribbing on the front panel looks like. So good. No holes. I do think that this might be a little bit bigger. I wasn't trying to, but I loosened my grip. I know that I did this ribbing really, really tight, and so if I did this one looser, it would obviously be bigger because I didn't pull as tight when I was working with the yarn. But I do want to see how similar these are in size, and hopefully they're similar. It's not similar. This is the back, so no, it is not the same length. It's the same amount of rows, just not the same length. Okay, here's the sweater. This is the front panel, obviously with the R, and then this ribbing is what I just made for the back of the sweater. And if you put them on top of each other, this is kind of curved, so I'm just gonna go with it. Look at how much extra I have for the back panel. That is a lot. I think if I keep this, I think it'll definitely be really big, but I think it'll be more accurate because it has the same amount of rows for the ribbing as the front panel. If I just remove a couple rows up until it matches the front panel, I'm just worried that it's not going to be proportionate, I guess. But I don't even know if proportions matter at this point because this sweater is already going to be so big. The next step from here would have been to start double crocheting the back, working on all the rows of the back up until it matches the length of the front panel. I would have started that probably like right now, but now that I know the ribbing of the back is so much bigger than the ribbing of the front, I don't know what to do. Something tells me that maybe I should just keep going. Maybe I should. You know why? Because the ribbing for the front, when I was doing it, I would pull on the yarn so hard because I wanted it to be, I guess, like even and straight. That's really not how you're supposed to do it. Like, I think when you start out as a beginner, which is what I am, I think we tug on the yarn really hard because we want everything to be like neat and perfect, or maybe that's just me. I shouldn't have done that because when I worked on the ribbing for the back, I loosened my grip, and that's why it's so much bigger than the front. But now I'm just thinking, if I pulled on the front ribbing really tight, when I have it on, is it going to feel tight in the front? Is what I'm thinking. It might feel tight in the front, and so if I just keep the back ribbing the same length that it is now, maybe it'll give me some space in the front. I hope that makes sense. So I just finished my third ball of yarn. This is what I have left over. So I'm going to need to get more yarn, and I think I'm going to do that today. It took, I guess, a little more than two to do the whole front, and I have just started on the back, so I really don't know how many more I need. But yesterday I was contemplating about what to do with the back of the sweater because it is so much bigger than the front, and I think I said that I might leave it as is. That's what I decided to do. I've done 5.5 rows this morning. I think this part will go pretty fast because it's just the same thing over and over and over again. I don't know how many rows I did for the front, but I think I'm just gonna put them on top of each other and hope for the best. I got 5 rolls of yarn, 5 balls of yarn. These aren't sold at every single Michael's, or they are, but they always seem to be sold out. And there was one Michael's that I went to where I first got this yarn, and every single time I've gone, they've pretty much had it, except today. So I had to drive 30 minutes to go to this Michael's. They said online that it was in stock, and it was. And I got 5 balls because I did not want the same thing to happen again. I was only gonna get 4, but I was like, these are either sold out or not available in so many Michaels. This shit is getting done. I don't know why I always choose to do these when the sun goes down, but that's just what we've come to. Let me show you what I've worked on. All of this so far. All of this. I've made a lot of progress in just a few days, so I'm really happy about that. My edges are pretty straight. I think I kind of screwed up and added 1 extra stitch onto the row, so instead of 94, I think I did 95, and I didn't realize that until I was pretty far in. Let's see if I have a good spot to show you. Probably like here, I realized, and I just kept going. And then up here is when I decided to actually do the 94 stitches. So yeah, it will get a little bit slimmer as it goes up, and that is totally my fault. That's what I kind of intended to do. I used an entire ball of yarn so far. So this is one ball of yarn plus a little bit extra from another one. I still have 4 more, but I think I have enough to do the entire sweater. And that's about it. I just have to keep chugging along, and after this do the sleeves, connect it all together. Yeah, I have a lot left. It's a new day. I actually have a lot of updates for today. I think yesterday I said that I was going to try to finish the back of the sweater, the back panel, and I did that. I also did a lot more. This is it. I know you probably can't see it that well, but it's all done. I will show you with it laying down on top of the front. You can probably already tell here, this is where the ribbing started, and then it kind of like curves in. I remember I said that I thought that I was adding one more stitch than I should have, so I tried to get it back to 94 stitches instead of 95, but I think I might have taken more than 1 stitch, maybe even more than 2, because it like curves in. I'll show you on top of the front. I really don't have words for it, but they're done. They're both done, and I'm so happy about that. This morning I started working on, actually I think I finished that this morning. I just did one last row this morning, and then I started working on the sleeves because I still need to do those. And it is 2 p.m. right now, I think. Yeah, it's 2 p.m. and I have just been working on this all day and night. For the sleeves, I'm just following a pattern. It said to do 36 stitches of ribbing, and then I had to do an increase or a decrease. I don't know, either one of the two, to make sure that the cuff wasn't so tight around my wrist, and that's why it's like curving like that, because of the increase. Although honestly, I'm not that good at crocheting right now, so I probably would have curved either way, but this is an intentional curve so that, again, the cuff won't be as tight. I also started on the other cuff. I am going to thank myself so much for this later. I did it because the ribbing on the front and the back of the sweater are so different, and I did not want that to happen again with the sleeves. But yeah, I think they're gonna be pretty good. I still have a lot of room, and I'm pretty happy with that. And even with this one, the other one that's I haven't done the increase to, it still feels pretty good. Let me show you the front, or the back on top of the front. Okay, this is the front. We've all seen it. It gets wider as it goes up, and again, I think it's because I loosened my grip as I was working. And now for the back. Don't laugh. This is the back. We already talked about why the ribbing on the back is so much bigger than the ribbing on the front. It's because I pulled this really, really tight. Where it gets a little silly, I guess you could say, is going up on the sides. Obviously you can see it's almost like a triangle. It doesn't get bigger like the front, but it does get smaller. I'm thinking maybe I can just, when it's connected, it'll be fine, and this can go like this. You know what? I think that might actually help because the front is so big. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If I have any major updates later, I will update. Like I said, I spent most of today starting on the sleeves. I finished the back completely, and I have untangled so much yarn. It's not even funny, but I'm just very excited to see it, I guess, see it all together. Hopefully it's not bad. I'm not even gonna think about that. That's a problem for future me. Another day, another hour. We're just gonna keep chugging along. So the last few days I've been pretty busy with the sweater is what I mean. When you have excess yarn hanging from the sweater, you have to weave in the ends. So I did that. I did that with a sewing needle. Honestly, I this was my first time making a sweater and weaving in the ends, so I really did not know what to expect. So I can't say that I dreaded that moment, but it was not fun. It was not fun. So I had to weave in all the ends using a sewing needle. You can also use the crochet hook. I messed up. I had to unweave all of the pieces, redid it, worked on the arms. I wanted to see how much I needed to do for each of the arm lengths, so I kind of just measured it up. It's just been so much. So many changes that I had to make, so many things that I had to redo. It is one sleeve. See, this side is all connected. You can see how I connected it with a single crochet. This side's not connected yet, and we're gonna do that, and I'm so excited. I stitched it all up. The sleeves at least, not everything. It's so big! Look at me with my little dinosaur pajamas. It's not done yet. I do have to work on this part because I didn't know how big I needed to make it, but it is so close to being done. Okay, so everything is all stitched together, but I do still have to do the neck, and I'm kind of unsure of what I want to do. I'm thinking that I might just try something, and then if it looks bad, I can rip it out. The neckline is pretty wide, and I'm not sure if I want it exactly like that because I feel like it could look a little weird. But look at this neckline. They went like all the way up. Don't look at her. So I think I might start off short, kind of like his, and then if anything, I could either rip it out or add more onto it. Wow, what a horrible angle. But oh my god, it's so tight. I don't know. I don't like how tight it is. I could actually die happy right now. My mind is just blown. I mean, you saw what this sweater looked like. All like pulled apart. You saw the front, you saw the back. It did not look like it was gonna happen. I'm just so much in shock that I'm actually wearing this. This is for you, Ron. This is for you. I think Ron would be proud. I think the Weasleys would be proud. Mrs. Weasley would be proud. We're the same person. We both made this. She would be so proud. I have a couple things to point out. I do think though that the R is a little bit long and it doesn't really look like it's in the center. I think with my hair it does, and looking at it on camera, like I can pull it back to the center, but I think when you initially put it on, I don't think that it's perfectly in the center, which honestly, like if that's the worst that came out of this, then that's fine. I did follow a pattern. We saw that. We saw the graph that pretty much looked like it was a disaster waiting to happen. Like, let me just pull it up. This looks like a disaster waiting to happen. And then this turned into this. Those are really my only complaints. I don't even mind that it's that big. Like, I don't mind. If I start talking a little bit fast, I apologize. It's because the sun is going down on me. I'm just so shocked that this came together so well after seeing all the individual pieces. Like the front, that did not look good. The back, nope. The sleeves, I think, were the only part that did look good, separated from the whole sweater. And that is just because even working on this sweater as my first crochet project, I learned so much about crochet and just got more comfortable working with it after each part of the sweater. I already talked about the two things that I like was a little bit picky about. That's the R not being in the center and it being a little bit longer than I would like. Again, if I'm being picky, I would have loved to make those things different. But honestly, when I look at it, I'm just so happy that it's all put together. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that you can see the seams. You can't see the seams on the shoulders because I used a sewing needle to do that. But for the arms and the rest of the body, right here, you can see the seams. Do I care? No. That is something that I guess I noticed or learned as I did this. The reason you can't see the seams up here for the shoulders is because the way that I connected the shoulders, it was the right side up using a sewing needle. The way that I connected the arms and the rest of the body, it was a crochet hook, and I was supposed to do that inside out instead of right side up, but I actually kind of really like the seams being out. Maybe if I get up, you can see it better. See? There it is. This is also the seam right here. And then this side has the seam. Yeah, I actually really don't mind the seams. I think it makes it look a little bit cuter. I'm not sure if I am qualified to give advice about how to make this sweater. I mean, you saw those front and back pieces. You saw those. Tell me right now that you really believe that I could pull this off after looking at the front and the back. You can't. And if you did believe that I could pull this off, I appreciate you, because I did not even think that I could pull this off. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really qualified to give advice on how to make this sweater or crochet at all. Like I said, this was my first sweater and honestly my first crochet project. I do know how to knit. I learned how to knit before I learned how to crochet, and so I'm not sure if that gave me an advantage, but working with the yarn was a little bit more familiar, I guess, and just starting from scratch working with a crochet hook, if that makes any sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, even though I had a lot of breakdowns making this sweater, when I first started to knit, which was probably like a year ago, I cried so much. So I think going through that and actually figuring out how to knit really helped me when it came down to crocheting for the first time. But overall, I do think that crocheting is a lot easier and a lot faster than knitting. So if you are looking to make your first ever sweater, if it's this sweater, I would definitely crochet, hands down. I think I even like crocheting more than knitting at this point, because I think knitting is it just takes so long, and then this is so fast, so quick, so easy to learn. If you have made it all the way to the end of this, thank you. I know that this has been a long and complicated process for the both of us, and when I say long and complicated, I hope I don't discourage anybody from attempting to do this, because honestly, I did learn so much just by doing one sweater, and I feel like I am more equipped to do other projects and try different things when it comes to crocheting and knitting. But yeah, I'm very happy that I have this in time for Christmas, and just so shocked that it really just came all together. I have talked enough in this video, so bye.